everybody, this is Robin with Creative2xmom, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the books we read in the month of May. So welcome back to my channel. My name is Robin and this is Creative2xmom. This channel is all about homeschooling, parenthood, and thriving in the day-to-day. Or in the case of today's video, some really good books. We are now at the beginning of June. I'm filming this one a little bit late, but I want to share with you all the books that I read in the month of May, as well as the books that we read with the kids as part of our read aloud in our homeschool. So I don't have a lot of physical books to share with you today because I really utilize my local library system. In fact, I have said before, don't rush out and buy all these books until you check out your library. We love our library and it has saved us a ton of money. But the catch on that means that I have to insert pictures here somewhere because I don't own all these books. The first book I read this month was called The House That Lou Built. Now, this was sort of a pre-read. I saw this book recommended from Serena at the Fallco family. I think that's who it was. And I will link her channel down below. She was sharing with us some of the books that her kids were reading, and she's working on getting a very diversified list. And this one happened to catch my eye. I tore through it. It's written in probably about a 4th or 5th grade, maybe 5th or 6th grade reading level, and the story was so cute. It was so engaging. I'm definitely going to be adding this one to my 5th grade reading list. It's a story of Lou, who lives in San Francisco with her mom and her grandma, and she has this piece of property that has been passed down over the ages from her grandfather to her father, and now it is hers when she reaches 18. And she finds out that the family is struggling to pay the tax bill on it, so the city is going to pay off this land. Now, in the midst of that, her mom is also talking about picking up and moving for a job in Seattle so that she can provide for her family. And so it's all about how Lou comes up with this scheme to build a tiny house, which is something that she's fascinated with anyway. And she finds out if she can build the house, she can sell it to pay off the property taxes. It's a cute little story about teamwork, it's about leadership, it's about finding yourself and being a part of a family. She comes from, I think it was a Filipino family, and how this family all rallies together to support her and her mom. It's a cute story. I'm always on the lookout for books about family and about that community bonding. So this one I'm definitely adding to my 5th grade reading list. The next book I read was called Boundaries with Teens. Now, you guys know I am always looking for ways to be a better parent, ways to have personal growth in that area so that I can possibly save my kids from as little counseling and therapy as possible when they're adults. It's hard being a parent these days. It's really hard being a parent post-quarantine, possibly. So when I saw that my local library got this one in, I snatched it up as fast as I could. This book was amazing. I really love the way the author went through and spent so much time laying out the why of boundaries and laying out the why of the parenting philosophy behind all of this. I think that's so important because if you don't know why you're doing things, your teenagers will catch you on it every time. So he spends a lot of time talking about the whys and the hows and feeding into that relationship and having a good relationship with your teenagers. So much of relationship before rules, but that rules also provide boundaries and safety and security, and that you're not just parenting, you're not just trying to keep your own sanity, but this hard work feeds into who they will become as adults. And then I love the second half of the book where it goes into some very specific situations and how to handle those very specific situations, from dating to curfews to drugs to friends to cell phone use. I think that that is so invaluable and so needed, because there's sometimes you can get the philosophy, but then when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, you're like, I just need an example. Might not be exactly what I'm going to do, but it's nice to have that example of what this looks like in very practical life. It reminded me a lot of, I can't remember, I'm going to link the book down below when I remember it. There was a very similar book that I read, might have been Parenting Teens with Love and Logic, where it spends a lot of time talking about the relationship and the why and the philosophy, and then gives some good examples. I have shared before a video about 5 books that shaped me as a parent. I don't know if this one would knock anything off the list, but it's definitely right up there. I will link that video down below, and there's a part of me that as a mom of teenagers, I feel like I need to update that one, because when they move out of that probably 10, 11-year-old, things do change. So if you're interested in that video, let me know and I will record that one soon. The next book I read was actually a review book, and it was a part of the Homeschool series. Now this book grabbed my attention because we are always out in nature. I think that is one of those things that has definitely grounded us in the last 15 months, is having that space and having that just mental space more than anything else to settle in on things and really process things. So I grabbed this one when I saw that it was on review, but I have to be totally honest, I don't think I was the target audience for this book. Now this book was divided into 4 different sections. It was sort of the earth, the wind, fire, water sections, and with each section you would get some mythology, you would get some very practical survival, camping, outdoor skills, and then you would get some games to play with a group of kids. I'm gonna have Kitty come join me. So that was nice to have that divided into sections if you are developing a lesson plan, or if you're looking for ways to just structure your time a little bit more. I think where I fell back and it wasn't necessarily for me was that it was very go with the flow, we're all connected. I don't know, there was just something about it that I thought, I'm not the target audience for this book. So if you can read it with just, for me, I read it with just an eye for taking it practically what it was. There was some whittling in there. I really loved the projects, especially in this book. Maybe not so much the games and the mythology. I was sort of on the fence, but the projects that come out of this book, the survival, camping, outdoors type stuff, I did enjoy that. I will link my full written review down below for you to check out. And then the last book I read, I actually do have the copy here in front of me. I'm going to be returning this week. This is The Stone Wall by Beverly Lewis. Now, I have shared before that I love Beverly Lewis's books just for sort of a brain break. And I picked this one up maybe the last 2 weeks of school. And again, it was just such a nice escape from that, trying to finish out the school year, trying to get everything done. This is the story of Anna, and she goes to, she is Beachy Mennonite. So I don't know, sorry, she's Beachy Amish, and I don't know all the distinctions between the groups, but that means that she has a little bit more freedom in what she's allowed to do, but she goes to live with some old order Amish family. So while she's living with this family, it turns out to be some cousins of her mom, and she picks up a job as a tour guide throughout the countryside. And she also starts to volunteer at a therapeutic equestrian center, and that's really where things pick up. That's really where she finds who she is and her place, and which world does she really fit in. There's also a backstory, a little bit of flashback with her grandma, who at a time had lived in this community as well. And she has a very close relationship to her grandma, so she's searching out this mystery from her grandma's past. She lands with some family who tend to be really insightful and know how to guide her and help her in her journey. Beverly Lewis has not been a real surprising writer for me. Her books are very sweet. They tend to follow a very calm timeline, but I would have to say this is probably the most engaging book I've read of hers in quite some time. So if you get a chance to read it, I would definitely pick it up. So the first book that I want to mention that we read with the kids is called Breaking Stalin's Nose. We have this little boy whose dad works as a spy, and he has been arrested. So on the eve of this boy becoming a young pioneer and joining communism, which he wholeheartedly believes in, he starts to question so much of what's happening. Now, he's also been chosen to carry the banner into the assembly where he's going to become a young pioneer, and in the process he gets excited about it when he's alone and he's twirling this banner and he breaks Stalin's nose off the statue. It becomes this big scandal within the school. They want to know who is disrespecting Stalin and who is not a true communist, and he starts to question so much of what he's believed and so much of what he's passionate about communism and what that all means. It starts to pull the veil back from what it actually looks like. It was a super quick read. We read it within a week. We added it to our Russia and Ukrainian history unit. Very good. I wasn't sure what to expect of it, but it definitely leads you to question so much of what's happening. The other book that we read with the kids was The Green Ember. I've had this book on my Kindle for probably a couple of years, and I added it to our read aloud list for this year, which I will link down below. I finally said, okay, we are committing to reading at least the first book in this series, and we are loving it so much so that we have decided we're going to read at least the second book. We're in the second book right now. This is the story of Heather and Pickett Longtreader, and they are two rabbits, and as they come home one day, they find out that their family home has been burned. There's wolves everywhere, and they're always afraid of the wolves. Their parents are missing, their little brother's missing, and they are rescued by an unknown uncle that they've never known before. They're whisked away to a kingdom that they knew nothing about, that their parents have apparently come from and never spoken of, and they're pulled into this epic story of kingdoms and battles and soldiers and conflicts that have been going on for generations. This book to me definitely has a sort of Lord of the Rings feel to it, only it's brought down a little bit lower, but even for me, I've been swept into this epic families and stories and conflicts and whodunit sort of feel to it. I have been surprised. I thought that possibly my kids would be starting to age out of this series, but it is really, really good. It's caught me up a little bit more than I even expected, but it definitely has that epic adventure feel all wrapped into it. So what's next? What are we reading next in the month of June? I have already started both of these that I'm going to share with you, so you will be seeing them in June's video. The first one is Philip Yancey's Prayer. One of my goals for the month of May was to read a book on prayer, and I'm probably maybe 45%. I've been tracking on my Goodreads, and I think that's where I'm at with that one. And then I took a free online class about kids classic literature, and they mentioned The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. I've never read this book. For whatever reason, all the books in that class I had read, but Wind in the Willows has never caught my attention. So wanting to continue and grow and be a better educator, I have started reading this book. So that's all the books that we read throughout the month of May. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you're reading or what you're reading with your kids. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.